The challenge, can I make it up the stairs?
Did I?
And you've just completed the first level of Doom.
Wow, 100% kills. I'm a gamer.
You know, I don't think I've ever seen anybody legitimately die.
Wait,
on,
really?
E1M1.
No!
Well, this is the first time for everything. How about we browse the internet?
Okay, let's do that.
Well, that's going to be Safari, obviously. Oh, wait. Safari yet? Netscape?
What did you use to browse the internet? No, you're going back there.
I can't help it. Is it in here somewhere?
Okay, this came up before I was born, so.
Netscape Navigator.
Welcome to the internet of 1996.
This is really exciting.
96. This doesn't exist.
No, LTTstore.com?
What? What? Did we make this?
What is this? Is that Hillary Duff? Is this... What am I looking at?
Oh, wow.
Wow! Oh, I was so jealous of people who had that phone.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, I have to enter a whole URL?
Google.
http://
You don't need the HTTP, but okay.
Wow. Wow. This is ugly.
What a great web design.
Oh my goodness! Where do we go? What should we do?
Go to behind the gym.
All right. Oh,
1-888 NCIX 888 right there, baby. $1,000 will get you 32 megs of RAM.
Well, how is your experience with the old Mac? Would you like to go back to it?
It's hard to say that I would like to grow up with it because obviously my experience with computers was a lot smoother. You were able to do a little bit more.
But I feel like at the end I kind of got the hang of it a little bit more.
Would you want to use a Mac like this?
No, I still would not want to.
all right.
That was chaotic. Thank you.
I hope it works out. I
Thank
hope
you
had
for
a
your
good
help.
Oh, no problem.
The fun part about this is that I have it set up to automatically proxy through the Internet Archive.
Ah,
So everything is as close to 1996 as it could be.
I see.
There's another browser that is not set up to do that, iCab, which you can try, lttstore.com. I don't know about that.
Okay, too old to support HTTPS. You know what else is getting old? These segues to my sponsor.
CableMod. There's nothing better to look at than impeccable cable management. Other than you, of course. You beautiful beast. But if you want help with your cables, CableMod and Fantex have teamed up to provide custom-length CableMod cables for the Fantex Revolt power supply. The power supply comes without cable.
Last week I asked you to goes. Not that Prime, I mean USDA Prime. All over the meat counter. Then there's choice, select, your meat's getting graded like it's school or something. Then you got yourself Wagyu on everything. Wagyu burgers, tacos, Wagyu pizza. And all of it is there as a means of confusing you, of getting more dollars out of your wallet. So today we're gonna save you the confusion by exposing to you some meat. Hello Internet, welcome to Food Theory, the channel that's always well done. And today friends, I've got some beef with beef, specifically the conspiracy around Wagyu meat. Now, no doubt you've come across Wagyu at some point in your life. It's a word that's become associated with the cream of the crop as it comes to our carnivorous consumptions. Sorry Amy, but what exactly is Wagyu? Well, Wagyu just literally translates to Japanese cattle, and what makes Wagyu special is how incredibly attentive Japanese ranchers are to bloodlines, all in an effort to preserve the traits of each individual family tree. As such, a purebred cow in Japan has got to be genetically tied to one of 4 Japanese-born breeds: the Japanese Brown, Japanese Polled, Japanese Shorthorn, or the most prevalent, the Japanese Black. In total, Japanese Wagyu cattle population currently sits at just around 2.5 million steer, a super limited number which is how the prestige and price for this stuff got to be so high. Each Wagyu cow can cost up to $30,000 compared to about $2,500 for a regular beef cow. And the price that you're paying for a typical steak of Wagyu is upwards of $250 per pound as opposed to something like 10 or 12. That said, is Wagyu beef truly worth the hype? When I'm paying like 25 or 35 bucks for a Wagyu burger, is that really worth it? The answer is honestly expose some deep-seated lies that exist within the food industry that you as a consumer must know about. So let's just dispel some hype with knowledge in order to make you the true master of the meats. Now, there are a lot of misconceptions about Wagyu that we need to carve through today. First and foremost, despite it being seen as this prestigious ancient category of Japanese food tradition, it's actually a fairly modern thing. You see, Japan was a vegetarian, or technically a pescatarian tradition for over 1,000 years. Back in the 6th and 7th centuries, Japan was being introduced to Buddhism through China and Korea. And in the year 675, Japan's 40th Emperor Tenmu enacted a law to prohibit the eating of animals to coincide with Buddhist beliefs. This, though, was overturned in the late 19th century during the Meiji Revolution, which saw a rise of Western influence and a fall of the Buddhist leadership. Why do I speed through all that history? Well, that right there shows you that Wagyu isn't some ancient tradition. The Wagyu that we're all familiar with today didn't really become a thing until the early 1900s, and didn't even start getting exported to other countries until the 1990s. Secondly, Wagyu has this association with cows that have been massaged out in the fields, where they listen to classical music all day, getting fed an exclusive diet of beer, all to get that most tender, flavorful meat. Again, this is just flat out wrong. Remember, the word Wagyu just means Japanese cattle, cows from Japan. Wagyu alone is basically meaningless. What you really need to know is the meat's grade. You see, different countries have themselves different grading systems when it comes to meat. In Japan, beef is given a quality score known as the BMS, or the Beef Marbling Standard. This ranking goes from 1 to 12 based mainly on intramuscular fat. It's not just talking about the amount of fat, but how abundantly...
No. What? No.
and evenly it's dispersed throughout the muscle tissue. This is important because when you cook it, the fat melts and not only keeps the meat tender and juicy, but also gives it that meaty umami flavor that carnivores love. As you can imagine, the higher the score on the BMS, the more premium it's considered. In fact, anything less than a 3, not even factored in because there's no actual marbling. Here, you can actually see the visual difference in the fat levels between a 3 and a 12, the highest and the most flavorful. So once they're rated on the BMS, that quality score is then converted to a final score that's scaled from 1 to 5, kind of like a grading curve. This new rating takes into account the quality of the meat overall, things like fat color, meat color, and the overall ribeye shape. So a cut can have itself amazing color and shape, but without the good marbling, it's getting a lower overall score. That final number of 1 to 5 is then coupled with a letter grade that rates the yield of the meat. In other words, how much meat they were actually able to get from the cow compared to its weight. A is giving you the highest yield at a 72% or higher, with B and C following. Ironically enough, this letter grade doesn't make that much of a difference to us as the consumer. It's actually more used by the producers and distributors when they're setting the price for the meat. And yet we all fixate on it because years of school education have primed us to always seek out the A's. In reality though, a Japanese Wagyu rated 5, regardless of the letter, is going to be getting you the top of the top ranked meat-loving experience. Though, let's just be clear here, it's all a matter of personal taste. I actually went to Japan a few years ago for part of a project, and as a birthday present to myself, celebrated with a true, genuine Wagyu A5 12 ranked steak, just so I could have the experience and judge it for myself. And gotta be honest, I didn't like it. The flavor was a super rich umami, like a very nice high quality steak, which you'd expect, but the texture was literally like eating meat flavored butter. You bite down and you get zero resistance. Your teeth just pass right on through. I never realized how important meat actually having some chew to it was to me, but the disconnect between tasting this extreme umami only for me to bite down and pass through the equivalent of a boba ball of butter meat was weird and largely unpleasant. So it would seem like there can be too much of a good thing for some palates. Although, speaking of too much of a good thing, therein lies another problem with Wagyu. If you were paying attention earlier, something I said should have sparked your BS alarm. I said earlier that there are currently 2.5 million Wagyu cattle in Japan. But with the huge volume of Wagyu dishes that are currently being offered out there in the world, that number can't possibly be right, can it? I mean, Arby's just hopped on the bandwagon with their Wagyu steak burger. You really think they're serving meat to thousands of people that starts at $34 an ounce? And even if they were, do you think that's really being provided by those 2.5 million cows that are lounging around over in Japan? No, it's not. You see, the Wagyu in Wagyu isn't Wagyu. What you're eating at Arby's or Fuddruckers or even most steakhouses likely isn't Wagyu, or at least it's not Japanese. You see, in the 1990s, Japan started to export some of its cows to Australia and the US, and when Wagyu did finally reach the States, we did everything possible to multiply those bad boys as fast as we could, to the point that today we have almost 92 million Wagyu cattle compared to Japan's 2.5 million. But as you might expect with such a huge number in just 2 decades, we tended to play pretty fast and loose with both our bloodlines and our rating systems. It's actually happened in the cattle industry before. Take for instance the most popular beef brand here in America, the Angus, which originated over in Scotland and now isn't even required by the USDA to have any genetic relation to the Aberdeen Angus from which it derives gives its name. No joke, all it needs to be sold as Angus here in the US is that it needs to look at least 51% black. As in, they just need to somewhat look like the Aberdeen Angus that they started as, and they'll say, yeah, you know what, good enough, and they'll just slap the label right on there. American Wagyu, it's not that far off. While they were imported from Japan, so they're technically Wagyu, they've also been bred and crossbred here. Sure, they still use similar processes for raising and feeding each cow, so you won't find a large difference of texture between Japanese and American Wagyu, but because American Wagyu's been crossbred with other cows in a fairly unregulated way and with unspecified percentages of DNA, there is a fairly substantial difference in the flavor. Japanese Wagyu tends to be richer and fattier, meaning it's easier to eat larger quantities of the American stuff than the Japanese. And that is definitely intentional. American Wagyu is bred with Angus, so it can be meatier and can be sold in larger quantities, which translates to less fat. Australian Wagyu, because of the crossbreeding they've done with their own cows, is something of an in-between here. It's not as meaty as the American variety, but decidedly less buttery than the Japanese kind. Japanese Wagyu cows are also raised for longer, around 3 years or more compared to the US's 18 months. Again, a small difference that adds up to a largely different eating experience. But really, we're kind of arguing a moot point across all of this because the last nail in the coffin, the thing that tells you that almost all Wagyu is a lie, is the fact that restaurants don't even have to listen to regulations at all. They can call whatever beef they want Wagyu. Honestly, they can call the beef whatever they want. Case in point, a subset of Wagyu beef called Kobe. You might have heard of Kobe beef before. If Wagyu is like the Mercedes-Benz of beef, then Kobe is like the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. It is considered to be the top tier of the brand, the best of the best. It's also, fun fact, where the late great Kobe Bryant got his name. His parents saw it at their favorite restaurant and thought it sounded good. True story. Now, officially, Kobe beef can only come from the Hyogo Prefecture in Japan. In fact, to be officially labeled as Kobe in Japan, the cattle have to meet 7 separate standards when it's being slaughtered. And these criteria are strict, including things like being from a virgin cow at the time of slaughter. It has to have been born and raised in the prefecture. Its age and weight have to fall within certain boundaries at the time of slaughter, and also there's a mandatory high BMS rating. Kobe beef needs to score a marbling rating of 6 or higher on that 12-point scale, meaning that you're never gonna find an A3 Kobe beef. Now, as you might guess, with these high standards, only a few thousand cattle qualify as Kobe every year, roughly 3,000 to 5,000. And what's then imported to the US is only enough for 77 Americans' annual meat consumption. Not 77,000, 77. And yet dozens of restaurants are peddling Kobe sliders, Kobe hot dogs, and all of them are about as real as the Easter Bunny. So why is it that no one's stopping these restaurants from their bold-faced lies? Well, honestly, it's because no one in the US has to. Where Kobe beef is a registered trademark in Japan, the US, yeah, they don't recognize that trademark. Which means that any old restaurant or fast food joint like Arby's or McDonald's, if they wanted to, could legally claim any meat as Kobe beef if they just wanted to overcharge you for it. They're just banking on customers not knowing any better and thinking that if it says Kobe beef on the menu, then it has to be Kobe beef. It's a pretty shady practice for a restaurant, but it can also be a pretty profitable one, considering it can make the difference between a $20 steak and an $80 one. The only line that restaurants aren't allowed to cross is to claim that they're selling the genuine article, real Kobe beef from Japan. There have been several class action lawsuits against restaurants on that particular basis. It is a murky line at best, considering that Kobe beef technically has to come from Japan, but not all consumers know that. In reality, there's only 8 authorized retailers in the US of Kobe beef. 8. And only 37 restaurants in the entire country have the certification to sell Kobe. Guess you could say that it's pretty rare. But perhaps the most ironic part of all of this are the dishes where Wagyu and Kobe are being shoved into. More often than not, you're seeing restaurants advertising things like Wagyu burgers, pizza, and hot dogs. But remember, a large part of the experience of the Wagyu is the texture and fattiness. By grinding the meat up to make a patty or shoving it into a casing, you absolutely destroy the marbling and texture that makes that meat so differentiated, so valuable. And then on top of that, all that flavorful fat, you're smashing it down into the griddle or the grill and melting it away before the deliciousness ever reaches your mouth. It'd be like buying a Ferrari just to drive it around in school zones. Which is why, in general, if you're seeing these meats advertised in anything other than a steak form, be wary. Best case, they're using the correct ingredient, they're just not doing it correctly. Worst and more likely case, it means they're just using fancy terminology to upcharge you for basically the same thing. So clearly, while there is a reason why these meats have earned some ridiculously high price tags, it's all been undercut by a lack of regulation and quality control. This has led to confusion in the market and advertisers desperate to use fancy words to get you to spend a few extra bucks on their fast food burger patty. What can qualify as Kobe beef is tiny compared to the demand for it, but because of the prestigious reputation and the name instantly elevating a dish's cost, restaurants actively lie and call regular cheap beef Kobe so they can upcharge you just by using the name. So the next time you find yourself perusing a menu and find Wagyu tacos and Kobe sliders, trust me, it's not worth your time, your money, or your appetite. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. What do you get when you take 8 guys, 10 blades, 4 weeks, and a goal of finding the world's perfect shaving technique? This episode. Today we're teaching you the ideal style of shaving. And
Hey guys, we watched every single episode of My Adventures with Superman. Comment down below other shows you want us to binge, and also check out the Patreon for the uncut commentary of this video, and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Oh my god, I love these. I prefer... Will Dick finally make a good piece of media? After Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and The Flash, will they finally put
The
out a
Flash
piece
was
of
great.
media? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
You gotta slow down. There's a big pothole up there.
The baby,
What is going on right now?
We'll get you into the microwave soon, baby, I promise.
Why is she driving so recklessly?
What the fuck is this turtle?
Okay, no, this makes sense because they're out in the country, right? People be driving like 100 miles an hour. Does it say baby on board in the back of her car?
The car just left without saying thank you. Like, what?
Yeah,
You
she just
saved
left.
your
What the fuck? You
life.
just drove off.
She was like, well, that was weird, and left instantly.
I would have preferred if he stopped the car and the baby goes flying out the window.
What?
Superman is so gay in this so far.
What?
It's not gay to have childlike wonder and happiness, Jack.
No, it's
Sorry you were
extreme.
wrong.
It is pretty gay.
Trust me, it's extremely gay. This animates so well. What the holy shit, the hair animation? This is
The worst part
beautiful.
about this show so far is that it makes it look like
This level progressively gets harder until the final jump that only one person could do. This level has an insane boss fight, and I'm beating both levels in this video. So this level is a precision speed run, which means I have to make extremely precise jumps and be fast enough to reach the end before time runs out. And as I get further into the level, the jumps become a lot harder to make. Like for this part, I have to jump at the perfect time so I don't hit the muncher enemy or hit the spike. And making this air stall to the next platform is also tight. So after doing that 3 times in a row, I grab the POW block and carry it during this next section where I have to time air stalls the instant I run off the platform. If I'm too late with the air stall, I hit the spikes, and if I'm too early, I hit more spikes. So after doing 8 of those in a row, I quickly jump up to the key door to avoid losing time. Now, the second half of this level is even harder. It starts with these jumps that are more challenging than they look, where I have to control my height just under the ceiling or else I'll hit the saw blade. And now I have to jump across all of these spikes, but you can't just mash all the buttons because it makes Mario jump too fast and get hit. So instead, I have to keep a perfect rhythm to make it across. But after doing 21 of these spike jumps in a row is the hardest jump of the level. I have to jump off the edge of this block, which only has a few pixels to land on because of the spring here. Then I control the height of my jump under these spikes, time an air stall, and squeeze through to the flagpole. Well, not on the first attempt, but eventually I became the second person to beat the level and got the world record time. But this next level is even more ridiculous. At the start, I'm taken to this vertical section with a Bowser on each side of the screen, and in order to beat the level, I have to throw shells and other items at both Bowsers to complete this clear condition of destroying both of them. Here, I use Yoshi and Eat the Fireball to spit and damage this Bowser, and then I spit this Spike Ball at the other Bowser. There's not a single moment I can look away from the screen, and if I miss any hits on the Bowsers, I won't be able to complete the level. So I kick this Bob-omb at Bowser, throw this shell at Bowser, perform a precise jump into a ground pound so I can catch this Bob-omb and throw it down here to hit Bowser. And now this section turns into a survival room where I dodge the fireballs until a spring launches this shell to deal the final hit on Bowser. And as I near the end of the level, remember that whenever I accomplish something, I like to put something on my wall that symbolizes my achievement. So since this level had a lot of jumps, I put a jump on my wall.
Welcome to my lab. What's your name? I'm Adam. Great, and this is my grandson.
What do you get when you take 8 guys, 10 blades, 4 weeks, and a goal of finding the world's perfect shaving technique this episode. Today we're teaching you the ideal style of shaving, and the answer will blow the hair clean off your face. Hello Internet, welcome to Style Theory. Hair today, gone tomorrow. One of our goals on this channel is to ultimately break down and rebuild your personal style routines to optimize them from the ground up. So far we've tackled color theory, washing your legs, and sketchy soaps. But today we're taking a blade to our own face in the name of science. That's right, I'm talking about shaving. Now, I tend to be a clean shaven guy myself, and I'm not just talking about this eternally youthful cutout version of me. I shave pretty much every day regardless of whether I'm gonna be on camera or not. What can I say? I appreciate that baby smooth prepubescent look that it gives me. That said, for 99.99% of my shaves, I'm using an electric razor because it's fast, it's cheap, and it's effective. But when I mentioned that fact to the rest of the office, I was shocked to learn I was in the minority. No one else used an electric razor. In fact, no one else could agree on a shaving technique in general, which got me wondering, was I doing everything all wrong? Had I put all my eggs into the wrong razor-bladed basket? Should I have been choosing something different? Something that could give me a better, cleaner, and closer shave? And when questions like that pop into my head, you know what that means? It means me roping in the entire team and filming them in the bathroom for multiple weeks as we scientifically determine what tool will actually deliver you the perfect shave for the best price. Now, what do I mean by the best shave? Well, for that we have to look to the best source of completely honest, unbiased information, commercials.
The bar and the handle removes unseen dirt and debris that gets in the way of the blades, so nothing gets between you and a quick and easy shave.
Products to help a man look, feel, and be his best. Mach 3 from Gillette. 3 blades, specially positioned to shave progressively closer. You take 1 stroke, it takes 3.
Now, those are all very intense, and surprisingly, they don't really tell us all that much about what a perfect shave really is, except that it should be as close as possible. But what exactly does it mean for us in our experiment? Well, the way I see it, the criteria for a good shave really breaks down into 3 main categories. First and most obviously is the razor removing the hair as close to the skin as possible, leaving behind a smooth, hairless face without any sort of nick or irritation. Second, time. How long is it taking you to achieve that shave? And thirdly, what's the cost of that shave? A 10-bladed razor might give you the best, closest shave of your life, but if it costs you $100 per shave to do it, is it really that worth it? Oh, also extra bonus points if I feel like I just wrestled a bear after shaving. Based on what all of the commercials are telling me, I should probably be feeling my testosterone surging through my body after I finish taking that sharp metal piece and rubbing it against my face to remove teeny tiny hairs. Seriously, I cannot stress how very important it is to these brands that you know that they are very manly.
You're about to get shaved! Oh, no!
So, to get the widest and most inclusive set of data we could, we pulled in members of Team Theorist from all across the country. Over on the East Coast, repping hashtag Team NC, we have ourselves the office regulars, Justin, Josiah, Sam, and myself. And over on the other side of the country, we have hashtag Team LA, made up of Dan, Yossi, AJ, and Melvin. Of this group, 3 of us, Melvin, AJ, and myself, were the ones that normally keep a clean-shaven face. Everyone else tended to prefer keeping some form of facial hair on a regular basis. And when I say preferred, I mean really preferred. I was shocked at some of the strong emotional attachments some of these people had to their chin hair.
I really like my beard, man.
Yossi, you do know that you didn't have to do this, right, bud?
I volunteered for this. I just wanted my face on Theorists every once in a while. I don't have it up a lot.
Oh, well, okay then. I feel significantly less bad about this.
Yes, hi, hello, it is me, head editor Dan, and I'm gonna shave my face, and I really don't want to do it. The timing of this is terrible, because I just got, like, a beard growing, like, kit, because I got this one patchy spot, and I kind of like it to be, you know, not patchy. Instead, I'm gonna shave my face. Thanks, Matt and Amy. You guys are just the best.
You know, watching back some of this footage, I don't think people really understood the concept of volunteering. Anyway, across our brave list of reluctant volunteers, we had people who hadn't shaved in years.
I had to look on my phone to see the last time I shaved, and it was August of 2018.
As well as people who shave almost daily.
I shave every single day just to make sure it's as smooth as possible.
We have people who can't grow themselves a ton of facial hair.
My facial hair doesn't grow enough for me to grow a legit beard.
As well as people with thick, coarse hair.
My hair type is 4C. Thick hair, lots of it, extremely curly.
So in general, we just tried to cast as broad of a net as possible with this one. The test had us circulating through 4 different types of razors over the course of about 2 weeks. A wet, dry electric, a single-bladed safety razor, a disposable option, and a deluxe 5-bladed cartridge razor, the Gillette Fusion 5. I have always been curious about this thing. 5 blades? That seems like so much overkill, it's crazy. Obviously, of that list, there is one missing, the straight razor. We actually chose to eliminate it from the test mostly for safety reasons. Because because they're more old-fashioned and not as widely used in modern routines, we figured our collective inexperience with it would hamper our overall results. And let me tell you, even experienced hair professionals struggle with these things. True story, one of my favorite musicals of all time is Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, all about this murdering barber shaving his way through London on a quest for revenge. And because I'm a theater nerd, I went to Fleet Street in London to get a shave from the Demon Barber himself. There is actually a shop there called the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. The guy down there had himself a parrot flying around. It was just a very surreal experience. Anyway, I asked him for a straight razor shave, you know, from the barbershop named after the notorious killer who did that exact treatment. The guy was obviously super nervous. I must have been the only customer to ask for that in like forever. Anyway, long story short, the shave was like he was hacking away at thick grass with a dull switchblade. Longest, most uncomfortable shave I've ever had in my life. So if a pro can't be trusted to do it right, I can't possibly ask our team to do it right either. Overall, the team was mixed on what they tend to use by default. I'm electric, Josiah, Justin, and Sam used the safety razor, and Melvin was the most versatile, proficient in all the types. I suppose you could say that he's a jack of all blades. For our hairier participants, we trimmed down the beard to a shavable length before the first day of experimentation. From there, to try and keep the hair length as even as possible, we shaved every 4 days to allow for regrowth between the shaves. But we didn't just want to shave, we also wanted to test out the effectiveness of shaving cream. To do that, each test day saw us dividing our face into 2 sections. One, the no product side, was only wetting our faces with water or keeping it entirely dry in the case of electric razors. The other side then was allowed to use product. And to keep it consistent, we all used the same brand of sensitive skin shaving cream. In general, shaving cream is meant to perform 2 jobs. First, it's supposed to hydrate and soften your facial hair, making it easier and less abrasive to shave. And secondly, it's meant to act as a lubricant for your face to help the blade glide through. But is it truly helping to deliver a better shave, or are you just washing your money down the drain? We were determined to find out once and for all. In the end, we were looking for closeness of shave, skin irritation, easy use, and overall cost. So, day 1, I was already excited because we were on my home turf, the electric razor.
So 99.99% of my life has been spent using electric razors. I've gone through like the 3-wheeled guys, I've gone through some of the more flexible heads, I've gone through kind of like the straight guys that go up and down. Electric razor through and through, my friends. Born and raised. Proud.
And my praises of the almighty electric just continued from there.
And one of the reasons I love an electric razor is that it's super efficient. It's fast. You just like rub your face around on it and it's done. Like I don't even have to look in a mirror to do it. Based on hearing the sound of hairs being trimmed, I get a sense of like, oh, that section's done.
So easy, right? Little did I suspect how much trouble the rest of the team would have when taken out of their comfort zones.
Oh. This... I'm not sure if I'm using this right. It's... What the heck is going on here? This is like... Okay. I'm definitely using this wrong. Am I supposed to like be rubbing it on my face?
Clearly, this man was in need of some help. Dad Pat, engage! I stepped in to give Josiah the crash course in electric razors like the kind, thoughtful boss that I am.
This is the most complicated razor I've ever seen in my life.
Are you kidding me? What's the problem?
These 3 blades.
Yeah.
This is like a computer, like.
Computer! It's the simplest thing known to make up. You just take it, you like literally just take it and run around.
Do you rub it?
Go in circles, but basically your goal, right, is to get the hairs.
This right here, this is the man that I choose to trust with my analytics. Honestly, I was surprised by how hard of a time Josiah was having. And it turns out, he wasn't alone.
It's not necessarily like hurting me now anymore, but like it's definitely pulling my hair. It's definitely irritating my skin.
It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good either. It feels like there's a ton of hair there. You can see there's still a ton of hair there.
At the end of the day, the team was pretty divided on the electric razor. Many said it pulled their hair and was painful, at least at the start until they found their groove. They also wound up divided on the shaving cream. Half preferred with shaving cream and the other half preferred dry. Unable to convert anyone to Team Electric, but I think everyone walked away pleasantly surprised by how smooth their faces were able to get with the fresh blades in the electric razor. Testing day 2 brought us to the 1-bladed safety razor, which meant that the tables had turned on me.
I'm actually really nervous about this episode because it's gonna show off how little I know about how to actually shave my face using a normal razor. Like, I'm glad that everyone else on the team is providing extra data points for this because me doing it just naturally is gonna give you a false estimate.
Luckily, Josiah was there to coach me through, just like I had done for him a few days prior. It was time for the student to become the master.
This is a straight razor.
Thanks. Great. Thanks a lot for the pro tips.
So the difference between this and some of the other razors we'll be using is
you got to be a little bit more careful with it.
Oh really? More careful with a safety razor. And here people complain about YouTubers using clickbait. Oh, great, I'm glad that we went from the easiest one, which is literally like just smash your face with it, to, oh, this is the one that will slit my throat. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, just be careful. And now, as I'm showing you this.
But not only was I risking the threat of death with this one, I also quickly learned that there was some assembly required.
And so as I'm taking this apart.
Oh geez, we're like doing construction work here.
It is.
There's like screws and stuff. There's like screws and stuff involved with this thing? Oh my gosh.
And so
this does feel like a much more masculine razor, I will say. Like, I look at this thing and I'm like, oh yeah, this is literally a tool in a toolbox. Oh my god, this thing's like as heavy as like a ratchet. You know, like a wrench or something.
As a matter of fact, it keeps it right by my hand.
Wait, are you?
No.
Truly, the testosterone score on this one through the roof. After getting the clip notes on how not to cut off huge chunks of my flesh, I then learned that there were even more caveats to this thing.
I know you're gonna love this, right? This just adds to this razor. You can't use this for like, a few weeks straight or a month straight or whatever. Like you can get there with the disposable razor. This you're changing like every week.
Every week you're buying yourself a new blade?
And there's some guys I know who change out the blade every day.
What? And how much does it cost?
They're dirt cheap.
Okay, that's good at least. Clearly I was talking to a man who had been fully brainwashed by this razor.
And the other nice thing about them is this. Now I just feel like a salesman for these.
Hashtag not spawn.
They come wrapped so nicely.
I like that a lot of the sales of this though are like the accoutrement around it. Like, ooh, it's a heavy blade, and ooh, it comes individually wrapped. But is it different? Good question, me. It's time to find out.
Be careful. I nicked myself a few times whenever I first started.
I am literally gonna die today. Honestly, I can't really say that I saw the appeal. You know what it's like to peel an orange? That's what I'm doing to the skin of my face right now. Yeah, I chalk a lot of it up to my inexperience with the blade, but overall I found the shave to yield a similar closeness while taking more time and more effort than my normal electric razor. In general, it was just less user-friendly as I struggled to find the right angle for the blade on the various parts of my face. Additionally, my skin felt irritated and inflamed on both the product and no product side. And I wasn't the only one. Josiah, unsurprisingly, had a much smoother time with his shave, but the micro cuts that he was getting from the blade actually caused him to have an allergic reaction to the sensitive skin shaving cream. Is it just me, or are you seeing the track lines on his face?
Oh, I'm seeing them.
Right?
I'm shocked.
That's just my allergies.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because I'm noticing the like red marks where you were stroking. That's not you cutting your face. That's like an allergic reaction to
a little bit of allergic reaction to the product.
Yeah. That's right. Josiah got such a close shave with his safety razor compared to the electric from day one that his skin was reacting to the shaving cream in a brand new and not so great way. Speaking of pain, I think it's a good time to mention technique. The most recommended method when shaving is to shave with the grainy.